Hello, how are you? Let's start with the information. Wow. What a night, what a night, what weeks, what a week, what a night. It's incredible what's happening. It's obviously exciting to see the girls, especially young women, standing up. But the truth is that there were many of them grabbing the veil and throwing it into the fire. Honestly, it's surprising. Listen to this, listen to this. Just imagining what they've been through, imagining that they truly have hope of getting rid of the Ayatollah's regime. Honestly, what's happening is impressive, and there's a mix of everything. Obviously, when there's chaos at this level, there are also a lot of rumors, and obviously we've been very clear in the title, supposedly. And the thing is, all kinds of reports are starting to come out, some from, let's say, more serious sources than others. But right now, obviously, there's no way to know a lot of things that are happening inside the regime.
And remember that they still don't have internet.
They still lack internet, but new details are emerging, many of which we've discussed here and have been confirmed. It's thanks precisely to those same sources coming from Iran who have seen us, whom we've seen, and that have been able to be published a bit ahead of time. For example, the issue that there have been many more deaths. Now they're talking about over 200, but the exact number isn't known. Well, it's known. I mean, like a journalist said today, it's probably more than there were in the June war, which was 1,060. Well, according to the information this journalist has, who was sharing this information, well, she says, there are more, according to the doctors, more than that time. I mean, a lot of people. There are also images that we can't show here of people, not of snipers being shot. It's unbelievable. People just stay put, keep going, and move back and forth. That's how they are. Not only that, but now there's a report, obviously also unconfirmed because we have to wait for more details. Some things are confirmed, others aren't yet. For example, confirmation about the deceased is starting. Emerging information indicates the number may exceed 217 and Masoud Pezeshkian may have resigned to the supreme leader. This also doesn't mean that the resignation will be accepted, but that he may have submitted his resignation. We should remember that today Masoud Pezeshkian gave a message in which he addressed the police. Not to attack those who are peaceful, not to do anything to the people because they have been shooting at the crowds in general. But they were asking the Iranian president to please not shoot them, not to do anything to the people who are protesting peacefully. Now, are you leaving it to this imagination, right, of the police who are peaceful? Let's see, hey, just because someone shouted, just because someone scribbled on a wall, is that why you're going to shoot them?
Did she burn the veil?
Or did she just throw the veil into the fire and that's enough? What level of pacifism are we talking about? Maybe just the veil is enough for me. I mean, obviously they're going through a lot of terrible things. So in this broadcast, we're going to talk about what's happening right now and what's been happening in the last few hours. What is expected to happen in the coming hours and days? Because in the event that the President of Parliament comes out, in the event that Aragashi comes out, although today he came out to say no, that he was not going to leave with his family, that he had a state meeting, but that he was going to go. I mean, and these people start to react to this whole situation while there's also an information chaos, a chaos as well. Well, suddenly there's light, suddenly there are blackouts, suddenly there are internet outages and things like that happening at the same time. Well, the hospitals are full. Why? Because people are coming in with injuries, mainly from gunshot wounds caused by real firearms. A terrible situation. Above all, it's striking that now there's talk that the second most important city in Iran may have fallen.
Well, what is known right now is that what they are. The security forces have basically lost control of the capital, Tehran. Of the second largest city, which is Mashhad, which is where Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, is from, and of the fifth largest city, which is called Shiraz.
So that would be the number one city, which is the capital, the number two city, and the number 5 city in importance. They would have already been taken over by the protests and are now under their control.
The image of burning veils you saw was in Tehran.
It's in Tehran. It's the previous image, which was the one just now that's in Tehran.
That's in Tehran, yes, in downtown Tehran.
Well, let's go to the next image while we look at the details of what's happening in this whole situation. By the way, what is this exactly?
Today, has the flag of Iran changed? The one that was used before the original? Is that the one that was used when the monarchy was in place?
In emoji?
In the emoji, and now this appears in the emoji. In fact, it's already seen at protests with people carrying the flag. Wow.
That's also, well, it's already a symbol. It means it's already a different country, right? What we're experiencing right now is a change, even though the regime apparently remains. Well, the message was incendiary. The message from Ali Khamenei today.
Yes, it was tremendous. Interestingly, he talked about how when certain people feel very powerful, they end up falling. According to him, that was a jab at Donald Trump. But it also fit him perfectly.
Of course, it fit him perfectly, absolutely. I mean, what a curious thing. I don't know how, but anyway, they show this image. I found it very interesting where you can more or less see Ali Norris. And on the internet, he started collecting all the videos that have been circulating, and then he put them together and published them. I'll pause for a few seconds so you can hear. Since I found the sound striking, they leave all the sounds mixed together. It's a little chaotic, but here goes. Listen up. Well, it's incredible. This is going around the world. I think all eyes right now are on what's happening in Iran and what's happening in Venezuela. I think those are the two areas that people are watching the most as well. Well, within all this, propagandist figures from Iran are emerging, just like they sometimes appear in other countries. Also, this individual who is there, whom we're going to listen to for a bit, we don't understand him, but let's listen to a little part.
Let's listen to a little part.
According to what independent media in Iran report, the state television, the national television of Iran, has been making direct threats and telling parents, mothers and fathers, don't let your children go to the protests because they could lose their lives there. So you mean the state television channel itself? Well, making it clear that this situation is, let's say, that the repression is on another level. They shouldn't go because if they do, they'll just get shot trying to scare them. In the end,
exactly. Today, the message is basically just that this person on television, along with several politicians in Iran, has been saying exactly this. That if their children, the boys, lose their lives, the girls too, then it's the parents' fault to create this fear, like Pepe says. So he was basically telling them to lock them up in their houses so they wouldn't go out, that they were being manipulated. The reality is that society is already fed up.
It's fed up. And well, let's go to another report because right now something is happening that's also very symbolic, very important in this whole situation. Let's go with that. Right now, the one considered the heir, let's say, of the late one, the son of the late one, is traveling, getting closer, let's say, to the Middle East, but first arriving in Europe. He's going from the United States. He was in that country. He was in Florida. Now he's heading to France. Obviously, everyone is following him to see where this person is going. Because at the end of the day, he has been seen as the possible leader who could be the interim president. To try to make a change from within over there in Iran. And I imagine this also makes the Iranians nervous, what the Iranian intelligence is doing right now. Because we have to remember that they have been involved in international affairs for years, even decades, getting involved with Israel, in South America, in the Middle East, and wherever the Houthis are. They're getting involved wherever they can. What's happening now? What are they planning and doing? We have to remember that Ali Khamenei issued warnings, threats. He even talked about overthrowing Donald Trump. Just imagine that. I mean, just like he acted tough before, now he's acting tough again. Ali Khamenei, but it's just Ali Khamenei. He's always been like that. Yes, he's always been sending messages and warnings and threats. I mean, basically, he's threatened the West. Right? that Europe has to fall, that the United States has to fall, that Israel has to fall. I mean, in his view, the whole world has to fall. And it's happening. What is it that's happening?
For example, right now, an Iranian official just proposed Iran carry out the same operation Donald Trump did against Maduro. But them going after Trump, I mean, capturing Donald Trump is obviously crazy. They don't even have the capability. A high-ranking Iranian official and ideologue, Hassam Rajipur Razgani, said today that Iran should capture President Donald Trump, just like they did with Maduro in response to Washington's stance on the protests. Today, during this meeting at this work table they had with the oil workers, reporters asked him about the issue with Iran, and obviously, well, he responded again. Another one to assure that if violence got out of hand, which it did long ago, they would intervene, but that's something that surely won't happen. It seems difficult, but well. Every time Donald Trump makes a comment, the government of Iran takes the opportunity to make these statements, when in reality the protests are simply from people who are already fed up.
There it is, by the way, at that work table between the White House and the oil companies. Well, you can't really see the size of the table there. It was huge, huge. A bunch of bosses from different oil companies, refineries, or areas related to the oil industry met with Donald Trump. Strange Trump-like things happened in that meeting. Out of nowhere, Donald Trump stood up and left. I think he went to the window, right?
Maybe he wanted to see the side of the White House that he destroyed to build this room, or that's what they say. Ballroom, I don't know if it's a dance floor, this dance floor, which right now has nothing, it's all demolished. This one?
If he suddenly gets up and goes to the window, I want to see the construction too.
The destruction?
The construction, to see how it's going and stuff. Well, you know, the style that Trump has, very, very random. Let's say not suddenly, but obviously speaking of Trump, once we talked about what Trump has said about what's happening in Iran, because there have been several comments that have been coming up lately, and especially because in these last few days he's been adding fuel to the fire, so to speak, saying, let's see if they do something against the people who are protesting, we're going to get involved. Donald Trump issued another strong warning, this time today, January 9th, in which he claims that Iran is going through a critical moment. And he warns that if the violence continues, Washington could intervene directly. The protests began at the end of 2025 on December 28th. The massive, the strong ones, for those who are there, it's already, if I'm not mistaken, 28, 29, 31, 14 days. It's already been that long for them. It's already been 14 days of protests, and now they've officially reached 2 weeks, and the repression has intensified. But also the protests, because people are angry, they're upset, protesting against the repression, and everything gets repressed even more. You remind them why they're protesting and that they're there for that reason, aware of the risks. They know some may not return, but they're willing to do anything because...
well, they have nothing left to lose, right? So is that why we're seeing such strong protests today? Trump said that the Iranian regime was, well, in big trouble.
It was in big trouble. Now he warns that if there's violence, they're going to intervene. Since there are already more than 200 dead now, Donald Trump is going to step in. Or has it just been to put pressure on that regime, or what's going on right now? We talked about what they're doing internally, what kind of movement. They know about escapes as well as movements, also military ones, because those exist too. But there is already a stance that is reminiscent of what happened, for example, with the situation in Syria. We have to remember that this comment was also made, right? At times, some groups close to the interim president of Syria began to attack other groups. Right away, there was some trauma, and people warned, calm things down or they'll be calmed for you. Eventually, things settled and everyone got along. He even visited him at the White House and all that, right? The same thing happened with Nigeria when these groups, and you can see it, started attacking Christian and Israeli groups, specifically Catholic schools. Donald Trump also sent a message that they were going to step in and take action if nothing was done at that moment, so something was done. In fact, the United States joined with the Nigerians, and they were making a move to free the 130 miners. That was a move that many of us thought, myself included, we thought it wasn't going to happen, it wasn't going to take place. And it was surprising, right? So then what Iran is warning about today? Well, it could suddenly happen just like that. It may sound difficult, sound complicated, but after what happened with Maduro and with the Nigerians and certain other moves, well, with what's happening in Syria too, because with Syria, even though they're not officially part of the operation, in recent days they've been working together with the Syrian army to attack Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. So they're basically trying to get rid of that bad image, or at least that's what they're trying to do. At least, and with this, it could also lead to a similar change. Let's move on to another topic because there are several interesting things here, and we're also going to interact with the comments and everything. So please keep writing to us. Let's move on to another point about what's happening out there. Ali Khamenei and the Revolutionary Guard of that country, the Revolutionary Guard, would be sounding the highest alert. There have been two movements seen, one that gives the order to Ali Khamenei and his Revolutionary Guard, which is the largest army they have. They have two armies, the constitutional one, the regular army of a country, and the army that pledges allegiance to the supreme leader, who is their leader. Now, there are two situations. One is that they are giving the army the order for maximum alert. But at the same time, it's also reported that Ali Khamenei and the high-ranking officials close to him are hiding in bunkers. At this moment, right now, they switched to a plan where he appeared on screen, showed himself with some followers, and then was immediately taken to a bunker. They say that what's happening internally within the inner circle has never been seen before. They're in an unprecedented moment.
They are in a state of maximum alert. As you mentioned at the beginning, it said that Ali Khamenei is in a bunker that's in the middle of the desert. Basically, there's nothing around from what they're seeing, right? Since the protests have already taken over, basically controlling Tehran, which is the capital of the country, it's very easy for it not to be protected. I told Ali that the video we saw today, even with the character's voice and all, could just be an old video. Place Ali Khamenei's message at the top, right?
Exactly.
Because where is Ali Khamenei? Well, he could be anywhere.
Yeah. He goes out with a little group there, and he could even be inside the same bunker they're reporting. The thing is, it happened. He sent messages to El Hijo del Cha. He sent messages to Yener and Jayo. He even sent messages to Donald Trump himself. He targeted even those who, well, apparently are already betraying the regime. The exodus that's happening. Well, he also threw some criticism at them, at the people, at those who are protesting, who are mostly students and young people. They also got hit. He said they were, the least he called them was vandals, and I don't know what else. Then he also raised his tone. He threw out some pretty strong swear words. He really got intense.
Not really. Do they report now like Israeli intelligence? He says that in the previous reports they had, they didn't see much chance that the protests could change the regime. But now, with how things have intensified in recent days, they do think it's possible that the protests themselves could change the government.
A week ago, the United States said they still didn't see the fall of the regime as likely, but today that changed completely. Today, they also commented exactly that.
Also, a former security minister of the United Kingdom, named Tom Tungenhout, says that this is the end game. That's exactly how he puts it. He sees it very clearly that this is the end of the regime. He says, what we're seeing is not the regime surviving itself, no, but rather how many people they're trying to kill.
But that's the perfect phrase. It's game over, right? Is that so? What can happen from now on? The beginning and the end? It was on June 12th when for so many years they said they had a super military capability, and well, they constantly showed images of bunkers packed with missiles and weapons, and for what cost? In 12 days, they failed to shoot down a single United States or Israeli plane. Not a single plane went down. They launched, who knows what, so many bombs towards Israel. Yes, some of them did fall. One even hit a shopping mall. There was some damages, yes, there was some casualties inside Israel too, but you say the Air Force was rendered inactive in hours? I mean, really, it ended up looking pretty bad for Ali Khamenei and the regime because, well, you had claimed to be all-powerful and it turned out you were far from it, right? And that, well, huh? Yes, it was surprising, and Trump's restraint was also surprising. Because, well, yes, obviously they attacked. Well, this had two sides to it. It was either a quick, precise attack in which they even warned that there would be an attack. I mean, a day before they said they were going to attack Isfahan, I mean, they warned people so they could evacuate, or what they wanted was to destroy the facilities, right? That was the objective, and that's what happened. That's exactly what they did. So I think that's it. That's where the first weak point appeared, right? Maybe also with the helicopter crash? Where was he going?
Ebrahim Raisi?
Ebrahim Raisi and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the other Ayatollah. By the way,
there were about 4 people, not counting the pilots and crew. Norma Ruth, a former high-ranking CIA official, says this is truly an extraordinary moment if we are witnessing a regime that is clearly in its final days. It's a government that can hold on, but it's unable to make decisions that could stop this.
So, is she a former CIA agent? No, they are. Well, now. There are several updates that we'll be discussing. In just a moment, we'll try to show some images. Even though there hasn't been much connectivity, in fact, they're under a heavy blockade. Thanks to these Starlink antennas, some images have been circulating more or less. There's talk of an institutional collapse. This is complicated and also dangerous, but it's part of a revolution since this isn't just a protest anymore. It's a rebellion, a revolution, right? That's happening, and this time it doesn't have the characteristics of that Generation Z protest. At least they don't have those symbols, but they bring a different vibe, not too different, that started with a labor issue. That a key point often overlooked is that many protests also involve strikes. For instance, protests frequently occur alongside strikes, such as those by
truck drivers. I remember we reported on a truck driver's strike a few months ago, which has been going on since before the 12-day war. Yes, it was paused during the war, then resumed, and has continued as usual. It stops because of things like fights, etc., but well, right now it doesn't stop anymore.
There weren't any. I mean, these transport workers had been very upset. They were, well, making very valid demands and whatever you want. But these were protests that have not only lasted for months, but have also paralyzed part of the basic transportation of things and products that they use over there in Iran, and that, well, they just keep going, keep building up. Like exchanges. Everything is kind of slowed down to transport products because they are demanding, well, a change. And that change caused other groups to start protesting. And this also started happening more intensely. Now, what is being warned? The danger right now is that there could be a final crackdown. I mean, that they might want to carry out a crackdown because this is existential for them. I mean, they're caught between the idea that either they disappear or they make their last move, and that's the risk right now. Not that they want to get too intense, like let's say they start planning something even more Machiavellian, or even, well, some kind of attack on a neighboring country. That's why I think there's this strange move by the Russians, right? For several days, all the diplomats and all their families were leaving. At least a good number of the families of Russian diplomats who live in Israel. Besides, those who left Iran because they're leaving Israel, as you can see, right? And if we're going to see any movement, any last-ditch effort, as they say, it could be in the next few hours, because I can't imagine this dragging on any longer. Something really serious would have to happen for these protests to suddenly come to a halt. And that's the concern, that something surprising could happen, that they might have one last ace up their sleeve, so to speak.
They could have it. Now, if it's an attack from another country, would it affect the protests?
I don't think that could happen. Maybe a similar situation, but there are definitely high expectations. I imagine that all the intelligence agents in the area, at least in the Middle East, or wherever there is Iranian intelligence, must be on high alert. for some reason or to try to stop or detect any situation they might cause. There have already been cyber attacks. There have already been, of course, acts of sabotage by the Iranians. So there is a certain capability that could surprise us. So you can't really trust them. You can't trust them there. Not even the people who are protesting, nor the countries that, of course, have been enemies for quite some time. Let's move on to another important matter. Let's move on to other important matters as well, also before we eat anything else. Greetings to those who are joining us. Thank you very much for being here. Also to the members, to Anna Hughes, who has gifted us 2 memberships for the community. Thank you very much, Anna. I send you a big greeting. Also a greeting to El Pitbull. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Pitbull will be Pitbull. Ah, yes. How are you, Pitbull? Very good. Thank you very much. Hey, really, thank you very much for your support. You can support this channel. Obviously, it can exist thanks to you, and that support is essential for this channel. You can do it through a super chat, a super thanks, and well, I'm grateful to the whole community. Let's go over several topics, and let's also try to pause and read the comments. Obviously, there's a lot of chaos also in the information, and of course, there are already reactions from different countries. I feel that in several of the issues that have been happening, China has hardly gotten involved. I mean, despite the major changes occurring, for example, about Maduro, they did comment on some things, and I saw it as if suddenly it was just like a slap on the wrist or whatever, and that was it. And with other issues, it's the same. Also with the issue of Iran, it doesn't make sense that there aren't more forceful comments. They just don't want to get involved in the matter, right? And that, well, is also part of his strategy. Likewise, there has also been little participation from Latin American leaders on the issue of Iran.
No, Iran, there are basically no comments. However, notice that when discussing China at a press conference the other day, one of the spokesperson for the Minister of Foreign Affairs was asked by a journalist about the issue of this radar that didn't work. That was in Venezuela, and it was very funny because honestly, the face of... Although they are not very expressive, Chinese politicians are generally not very expressive. You could see the look of annoyance on his face, and immediately his only response was, "We are against the violation of any country's sovereignty," he said. Absolutely not a single comment regarding that Chinese radar that didn't work or supposedly didn't work, right? Because it could be just like that. Today, Trump once again claimed that, well, the Venezuelan government has been providing support on certain issues and had suggested that he basically handed him over to Maduro, although now he insists that he didn't. Well, who's to say they hadn't disconnected it, that they turned it off because, well, apparently it was useless, right?
No, it was useless. And besides, well, yes, if we're looking at it right now, there are just too many pulls, conflicts, problems like getting involved in other matters or spreading out. It just doesn't make sense, honestly. I mean, the case about the Maduro issue and about that, I thought that several countries in Latin America would react more strongly, but they've held back, even here in Mexico. I mean, how could the reaction have happened? They said, we're not going to defend this individual. They talked about sovereignty. They mentioned a few points, and that was the end of it. The topic doesn't come up that much. It even seems like Trump wants people to talk more about the topic because he goes and brings it up. Yesterday's comment about how they're going to come into Mexico and all that stuff. And a lot of campaigning, also generating fear in all these situations. And I think that comes from intelligence agencies. I mean, here they say there's a drone over here and some kind of ship over there, and a lot of misinformation. It's info with videos from 3 and 5 months ago, basically old videos. But people usually don't have the time to check every story that comes out. So that's why a lot of that kind of information spreads too. Not right now with so much going on, and it's hard to remember every video that comes out. But anyway, let's move on to other matters about what's happening in Iran and other topics as well. Obviously international ones. Notice that as we keep observing this whole series of reactions and what's happening in Iran, there are several important topics. There's a report from 6 hospitals over there, just in the capital. Yes, just in the capital itself. What has been confirmed, because a journalist came out today saying that, according to her data, what the hospitals told her, the doctors she spoke with, testimonies, she also mentioned that there were more deaths than in that war during those 12 days. Well, we've already talked about that, but what has been confirmed only in the 6 hospitals that have been observed is that there are 217 people who have lost their lives. There are 217 human beings who went out to demand a change of regime, and well, that's why they paid with their lives. It's really tough, and with 2,000 people detained, if the regime continues, maybe not all of them will remain detained. But many of them are going to die by hanging or in different ways because that's how their rules are. They're extremely harsh. That's how it's happened in other protests where suddenly either they leave them there for 20, 30 years, they leave them for extremely long periods, or they don't even survive. They eliminate them. So if the regime doesn't fall, although you always have to consider both possibilities, if it doesn't fall, many people will face a serious situation in their lives. Right now, what are we going to do? If we had to sum this up, we would sum it up as repression, blackouts, internet. On the other hand, the passion of those saying enough is enough shows we must end this. As you noted yesterday, it's clear this is more than just an issue. Just about that, because usually the ones who protested were the poorest classes. Right now, we're talking about middle classes, even upper classes, who have been going out to protest or have been participating in the protests. Some of them are no longer following the regime's narrative because they're demanding that the protests be opened up. They have to keep reopening businesses and everything in order to try to go back to normal. They say, I'm no longer living normally, and they're simply no longer following the orders of the Ayatollah.
Exactly. There are already voices from certain important figures in the Arab world. For example, a Lebanese sheikh named Al-Hab Hassan, who not only questions the religion, he is from the Shiite branch, and they question the religion. They say that it's time to update it, that it's not possible for many countries or many people involved in terrorism to be part of this religion. In a way, this Arab world hasn't let the world move forward or grow, right? So it's a situation that other people within the same religion are starting to question. Yeah?
How interesting. It's a harsh criticism, but someone needed to say it, and it's good it came from within.
Yes.
Because it's true. I mean, if that religion wants to, well, survive, let's say no, it must move beyond violence, as many religions have experienced violent periods in the past. Whatever you want, but eventually they realized that wasn't the right way, right? And let's hope that these kinds of self-criticisms become, well, more and more clear.
Exactly. I'm telling you exactly what he says. And if Islam needs a deep reform, we need to review everything. Islam seems to be a religion of terrorism and violence. How can we kill people in everyone's name? Now he says, the world hates Islam because of us, not you.
That's a really harsh comment. And well, it's part of what, well, this can bring that kind of revolution, that kind of shift and change. How interesting, 2026. I mean, I still haven't gotten used to the number. But well, it's 2026. Very interesting, very eventful, and well, there are also some losers, at least apparently. I mean, in the sense that, well, not right now. I'm not just referring to regimes that lose everything, but also to sudden shifts in these movements. Yes, if the countries and the leaders of the countries that are, let's say, in the middle, don't understand the moment they're living in, they can, well, let's say, end up in a state, how can I put it, like an intermediate one. Not from here or there. And I remember what happened, for example, when the September 11th thing happened, when Fox came out, and I don't remember. Yeah, I don't think he was. I think he didn't offer his condolences to the Americans or something critical, something like that. He took a while to offer his condolences and then did it later. He criticized the war in Afghanistan and all those topics, which I completely understand because, well, yeah, Mexico is not a country that supports wars. I get that, but going out publicly and criticizing was seen very badly at the time. And from then on, there was a very cold relationship with the United States on the part of a president who, well, was supposed to be more focused on business, that is, Fox. I don't know, but from then on it wasn't handled well. And in other countries, for example, Ukraine, right? Ukrainians, often overlooked, sent soldiers to support the United States, a country on the other side of the world. Right? But so what? And it wasn't even like, it was supposed to be light blue, not even close, light blue, nothing like that at all. Back then, the president was more pro-Russian, yet they still sent aid and soldiers to help the United States. What about you? And here in Mexico, well, with the idea that we're a slow-moving country, they didn't do anything at all, right? And this time, the thing is that many countries, Canada, for example, is another country that's also among the losers. In the sense that right now, Canada won't be able to sell oil to the United States. Why? Well, because right now what the United States has plenty of is oil. Between what it already has, the deals it's making with the Middle East, and what's happening with Venezuela, well, Venezuelan and Canadian oil end up being too expensive. So now, China, and interestingly, China is now connecting with the Canadians and they're proposing to buy oil from them. So China buys oil from Canada. In fact, they're already shipping oil to China through the Pacific. But it seems this will speed up. And on the other hand, well, the United States and Venezuela in this new reality that apparently is going to happen, which is also something that's in progress. They're already discussing the initial 30 million barrels officially sent to the United States. With the new government that's, let's say, in transition, apparently Delcy Rodriguez, the first 30 million have already been sent.
And also today. But just a moment ago, the Venezuelan government released a statement where they claim that they cooperated with the United States government to capture this oil tanker. The United States and Venezuela have returned the Minerva vessel to Venezuelan waters, it says. United States and Venezuelan authorities announced a successful joint operation returning the Minerva vessel, which had departed without payment or authorization. Well, who knows about that from the Venezuelan authorities?
3 Doritos later, it's impressive. I mean, let's see. 3 Doritos. It's just that, you know, the United States and Venezuela were always at odds, and now it turns out they're even working together against Russia. It's crazy, right? I'd love to see it. Well, now that those influences from Maduro's regime are posting, right? I mean, there it is. Now they're collaborating and going on a Russian ship. You say that's good?
Well, the comments on X and on different social networks where videos are shared, for example, of Delcy saying, no, well, we're going to be a team now, and I've already told them, well, we're going to sell them the oil, right? Many, especially strong Chavistas, are very angry and asking, but how? How is it possible that we're agreeing to just give them the oil like that and that we have to buy things from the United States by force? You told me a few months ago that not a single drop of oil was going to go to the United States, even though in reality there was always oil going to the United States. Chevron today, Donald Trump was saying he told you you were there, you've never left.
They never left. They were comfortable there buying cheap oil. And well, honestly, it really is. It's tremendous. But what's amazing, what's almost truly surreal is that now they're already working together to go after a Russian oil tanker. This time Russia says it's not ours, right? But when you see what it was called before, who controlled it and so on, well, yeah.
That would just be too humiliating. I think that would be the third one for the Russians.
They'd rather say no, but anyway.
Well, and today the United States, at this table I was telling you about where the oil executives were, they asked Donald Trump about the issue of Venezuela. And he said that they're doing very well. With them, not with his government. Yes, he said, I think they've been very smart in the way they've acted with us. Frankly, because that whole place could have been wiped out by just one more attack and we didn't want to do that. Well, that he said because today he claimed that he had canceled the second attack against Venezuela. Because he saw that they were cooperating and because they had released the political prisoners, which, well, in reality, they released very few of those who are still missing. They haven't said anything about that?
It seems like they've released about 1% of the political prisoners. In fact, the families are desperate right now. I mean, the thing is, we talk about this news because it's really funny. It's actually amusing, but in reality, what Blanca Barcelo says here, I totally agree with. I mean, this is acting. Obviously, it's acting out of convenience for whatever reason you want, but really, you can see it right away. I mean, by not letting go, because as soon as they decide, just release them all, let them all go, period, that's it, right? They don't let him go because there's an order not to let him go, because they're being told not to let him go, period. So they're going to release them little by little, because that's the bargaining chip they have. So, well, they want to release them little by little because possibly some of them are also in very bad condition too. I mean, there are several.
Well, according to the NGOs, they estimate that it's already been 30 hours since the announcement made by Delcy Rodriguez's brother. I don't remember his name. It's Jorge Rodriguez. They estimate more or less because the number isn't clear. Did the Venezuelan government say how many more or less do they estimate between 8 and 11, or is it nothing?
If not, no, it won't be. They would have to release everyone who's there in the helicopter. I mean, in the end, they're prisoners who shouldn't be there, who've been tortured, who never had a trial or anything. They were just taken away. They're locked up there, and many of them don't even know what conditions they're in. Many were sick and some didn't survive. It's a serious issue.
It's estimated there are between 1,200 and about 806 political prisoners. So, well, not even 1%.
No, not even 1% or so, but greetings, Jose Artes Cabello. It's not going to be anything, but now let's see who ends up in charge of Venezuela, he says. Greetings, Jose Mitocayo, how are you? He says. Tapatia, everything will be fine for the world. Greetings to Tapatia and everyone watching in Jalisco. Great, thank you very much, says Gerardo. It's all theater, it's a show, he says. How are you, Gerardo? A big greeting, very good. What else?
And sometimes it gets reported in the Wall Street Journal in a publication that came out today, which is good. 3 Iranian government officials told the Wall Street Journal, without being asked, that they did so in private. That they longed for the return of the Pahlavi dynasty, and that one of them said he wanted the king to return there.
In other words, someone already inside
of the government, and some people, we already knew that.
Inside the government, but I mean, it's interesting, right? Anyway, the Wall Street Journal confirms that there are people inside the government who are interested in having them return. I mean, at least some things from that past, and that's also very interesting.
Exactly right now. For example, on the IKMN account, it had the flag of Iran, and they just removed it. Why? Well, because of the flag change they made.
Of course, because when you put the emoji, you're putting the emoji of the other flag, right? So it forces the mandatory one.
They had to remove it.
How interesting, how interesting. Yeah, they keep showing up, don't they? They keep showing up.
The image in this one is impressive.
According to what ViceGrad24 reports, it says they would be shouting long live.
Long live.
We're going to listen to the Farsi chat, I imagine.
Life. Life.
Well, in the end, those cycles suddenly happen when suddenly there's just a sense of exhaustion. That's what they say. Change either happens or it happens. People just go out, and it's impressive. How? How is it going to be said? Giving it a chance that, well, even just a few months ago seemed difficult or almost impossible, right? Who else is out there?
Well, greetings here. We see my friend X, me. If someone had told me that in a week the United States would remove Maduro and reopen its embassy, I wouldn't have believed it. Yes, well, today the people from the United States government went to Venezuela. It's not super unusual to see the trucks there with all the representatives from the United States. First, the possibility of opening the embassy.
The possibility that they might open an embassy, just the fact that there's even a possibility seems super interesting to me. The fact that during that same period you were talking, Mr. Reyes, about a movement between Venezuela and the United States to pull over a Russian ship. Are you saying you're talking about this? What kind of world are we living in? Or even about the possibility that, according to at least the reports currently coming out of Iran, of an alleged resignation of the Iranian president, presenting Al. You say if things are moving, right? Thanks. Greetings to Nundo. How have you been? Very good, Miguel Alfonso. How are you? Thank you very much. Greetings, Roble. Martin Gutierrez. Very good. Greetings, Mr. X. Very good. Is this then very interesting? Let's move on to other important topics. At this moment, it is also already being considered as the result of this meeting with oil workers and Donald Trump. And the truth is that, well, it's very predictable. The oil companies are not happy. They don't have any interest in investing right now. I had already told you here, but they basically said the same thing to Donald Trump. They can't commit because nothing is certain yet. I mean, not until they see clearly that this is sustainable. Because, later on you invest there, who knows how many billions, and then suddenly something internal happens and they make a change on you. It's unclear what people like Diosdado and Padrino intend, or what will happen with the opposition, Maria Corina and Edmund. These situations are complicated if they're planning to hold elections again, as suggested. All of that, well, as long as it's not clear, why would they invest billions? If right now what we've seen in these last years, especially these last 4 or 5 years in the United States, in the oil sector, there's a boom of money because they invented it. Do you remember fracking? Well, fracking also kept renewing itself, innovating, right? And even though fracking is still very problematic for the environment and for many other things, they greatly reduced the amount of pollutants it used to generate. They reduced the amount of water they use. Yes, they still use a lot of water, but it's much less than before. And they bring in a certain level of profits. Because it's an oil boom, that's also why oil prices aren't going up right now. There's an excess, there's too much oil. So, since the techniques they're using have become cheaper and less aggressive, there's been a huge profit for the oil companies. What do you mean? What's the point? If this had happened at another time, maybe it would have been more interesting. But why risk that much money? If right now my business is doing well, if things are good with gas, with oil and so on, then that's better. Let's wait a year to see how things are. If everything stays stable and works well, it looks like it could last long term. We get in, I don't know, but right now, what's the point? So, well, okay. In that sense, it seems like the meeting was maybe a good way to get closer, but not with an exact result.
At least the big oil companies aren't interested right now. They're not interested in investing much or quickly in Venezuela. There were some independent companies that raised their hands though. But also, the thing is that Trump assured them they would be given security guarantees, but as always, he didn't say how. He didn't commit to any military presence. I mean, when he promises something, everything is always left up in the air. I mean, it's very likely that it won't happen.
If there are 3 years left, if in the 4th year another president comes in who doesn't care about supporting the oil companies, well, that's it.
He also assured them that they wouldn't have to have any relationship with Venezuela, that everything would be directly with the United States government. But the chief executive officer of Exxon, Darren Woods, told him that Venezuela is currently investable without significant changes in the commercial framework and in the legal system, he says. There has to be lasting protection for investment, and there have to be changes in the country's hydrocarbon laws. That's what Woods said before any investment is made. Some experts say that for it to be viable, meaning for you to actually see a profit, it would take 14 years. If everything is left unresolved, 14 years is just too long.
If these are long-term businesses, meaning they can have big profits, yes, but you'll see them in 10 or 15 years, so it's complicated, right? If your thing was something else, another type of business, then maybe it could be that I'll get the profit in 1 or 2 years, then yes, but like this, it's very complicated. And besides, well, they would always be thinking that we have to remember how many years Chavismo has been around. I mean, it's been decades. And in that time, many who are now soldiers or who are now in these positions, well, the bureaucracy that exists within Venezuela, well, many of them were born with that. I mean, they were born with that mindset. I don't know, they're already there, so it's complicated. Suddenly there must be a group that could also cause you a problem. I mean, yes, okay, the change happened and that's it. This is the new government. If they dislike or are bothered by something, they can cause you trouble or create a difficult situation. I don't know what it could be there, but I mean, no, I don't know how they could solve it. But Venezuelans who have been here in Monterrey have told us that this has already been going on for at least a generation or several generations already working there as adults. For them, that's all that exists. So that part is kind of complicated, not impossible to change, but it's something they're going to be suspicious about, right? Anyone who wants to invest is going to say that. How long will the business last and how stable is it? Recovery will be small, but still.
Yes, also, one of the biggest buyers of oil, which is Zhongguo, is investing more and more in renewable energy. In the last few months, I've been posting videos of these impressively large solar panel fields, where you can see kilometers and kilometers of nothing but solar panels. So this also makes you wonder a lot, how much longer is this going to keep being a business?
Yes, the fires, there's an update. The fires in Australia are still going on. We've mentioned that the southeast has been on alert. So what's happened?
Well, Saturday, they're already on Saturday. Australia has just declared a state of disaster after the fire. The wildfires that are hitting the southeast of Australia have already destroyed homes and devastated many forests. Because of this heat wave they're experiencing with temperatures above 40 degrees, and it has been affecting millions of people this week, especially in the state of Victoria, and they've called this the Black Summer, Due to the severe destruction, almost nothing remains now. 150,000 hectares near an area called Longwood is a region covered with native forests. And while the firefighting teams have started to assess the damage, the first reports right now mention at least 20 houses destroyed in a town called Ruffy, and one about 2 hours from where he is, the capital Melbourne.
Practically all of Australia is under potential fire conditions. Everything that's purple means extreme fire risk conditions. What is in red means they call it very high risk, and then the lighter red means high risk. And anything that's in orange is moderate, and what's in yellow is low, right? But let's say that most of it is at risk, although the main problem right now is in this area. Besides what? Because the environment is dry. They were under temperatures of 40 degrees and the winds were at 160 kilometers per hour. So similar?
Well, sorry.
120 kilometers per hour. The 160 limit is in Europe.
With cold?
With that storm, winds are extremely intense, reaching 100 to 120 kilometers per hour. Let's say they had the perfect conditions, alright? They said they hadn't seen fires of that magnitude since 2012 when they lost thousands of homes to the fires. And, well, obviously, Besides that, the poor air quality and those kinds of situations are also part of what's happening in that region. By the way, the wind gusts, if we look at the map again right now, they continue, especially in the southern part. If we look at the area where the heat and the fires are, that's where the conditions are happening. That's why people were saying today, the sky turned orange. Well, of course it did. So, well, that's how things are in Australia. Let's move on to other important matters. Alright, we'll keep reading comments while we see how things are going with this, with Iran. Yeah, it's really intense, and we're going to share some images with you, says Wilco. This one sent me disasters. Cool Pulp Fiction shirt.
Yeah, it glitches a bit, but
It works.
yellow, I don't know why it's not green, but it glitches.
It is, it's related. Yellow is related to green.
Very good movie.
Very good movie. Yes, yes, yes.
It's very funny, yes.
Yes, bloody but fun.
It has that very characteristic Tarantino humor. Yes, yes, yes. Greetings to El Güero Jose. How are you, El Güero? Jose? That's El Güero. Greetings to Adilson and Francisco Arche. How are you, Francisco? Marvin also says solar panels aren't the future solution. Yes, that's true. Those large fields in China power just 500,000 homes.
It's several million homes. Yeah, I mean, it's not that extreme either. Look, with 150 kilometers, a square of 150 kilometers by 150 kilometers, you could have solar energy for all of the United States. I mean, the thing is to actually do it. And he's right. I mean, it shouldn't be the only solution. No, but it should be part of the solution. In the end, there's the sun, there are the panels, especially since the panels have become much cheaper and are more efficient, so cheap and efficient. Japan is introducing new technology, but it won't be available for 2 or 3 years, including solar panels. Also, they claim they're going to give a run for their money to those who are currently selling to China. They have a patented technology that should be available for sale in the next 3 or 4 years. So there's gonna be a lot of solar energy, but we also need to work with geothermal energy, nuclear energy, and other types of energy. Because if not, we need too much energy and it has to be sustainable so it doesn't generate too much pollution. One of them is nuclear, in terms of how nuclear energy is managed nowadays. Not with uranium or plutonium, but rather other types of minerals, or rather elements, are already being used that can generate energy without being as dangerous as other types used to be. Exactly.
For example, Marvin says it only meets the needs of 500,000 homes, which is just one of his projects. 6 million solar panels cover 610 square kilometers on the Tibetan plateau, and with solar panels, they meet the needs of 5 million households. Maybe it's not the most efficient, but currently it's the country investing the most in this area and covering 5 million homes, which isn't nothing.
It's both significant and insignificant, since for China with 1.2 billion people,
and for them, 5
million, it's like...
For example, it would include all of Nuevo León.
Exactly. For example, in Nuevo León, yes, it could cover everything. But are you then also depending on these batteries that aren't available right now? Isn't there a way to make energy acquisition sustainable and maintain it? There's a really interesting project that I think is in Spain, which is like some buildings. I don't know if you've seen them. The energy makes some weights go up, like elevators. So the energy is stored there when it's going to be used. But how is it stored based on the weight? So the energy is stored there. And what happens? When energy is needed, the weight goes down and generates that energy. And when there's excess energy again, the weight goes up. So it's really interesting, but, well, there are a lot of very interesting ideas about how to store energy. Right now, the problem is that we still don't have a good way to store energy. What happens, for example, right now with France is that France has done a really good job because it has nuclear energy and several other types of energy. There was currently an excess of energy, likely from wind, and they had to address it. Well, because they base their excess energy on the price. If there's excess energy, it becomes cheap, so you use and consume more of it, since I need you to do so because I can't.
They can't control it?
I can't store it. So there was a day when they reached... Do you remember the other day when they reached 0 day? I mean, when it cost nothing, that day it cost them 0. The energy was so crazy, but anyway.
Says Jose Francisco.
He says...
Also, 2 other border cities in Iran have already fallen. Yes.
Which ones would those be? Let's see if you have the information so we can check it. Thank you very much for the info. This is evolving.
Yes, super fast, they say. Mauro Diosdado is the most wicked mind I've ever known. And does he consider Venezuela his own? He's the one I see most emotionally affected by this issue. Honestly, when he appeared on his show, he really did look super upset. No, for example, I didn't see the same thing in him. If he doesn't seem affected.
Just colder and colder.
In Dorian's opinion, the United States has already put its doomsday plane on alert. Also because of the Russia issue, says Dorian.
They're flying it around out there?
They're flying it around, yes?
Yes, they took it to Washington first. I think they've already moved it, but they do take it out and send it. No, I don't think it was Maryland where they sent it. It's close to Washington. I don't remember the name of the place. Also, at that moment, the chances that the Supreme Leader will fall before January 31 are increasing. Not in Polymark, you know how he makes bets. He talks about the odds from the Polymark betting market, the one that Yatora uses. Khamenei, Iran's Supreme Leader, leaves office before January 31. They have soared in the past 24 hours as anti-government protests erupted nationwide, with odds that have currently gone up by 20%, which is quite a lot. We discussed staying at zero since they saw no real possibility. Right now, there are people betting money that the Supreme Leader is going to fall, or that he's going to leave or resign or whatever you want. But when there are people putting money into this, it's because they're seeing something. Many times, even with, let's say, privileged information. Yes.
Greetings to Gerardo Hernandez. Is this an alternative to solar energy? Also, hello to Edilcia Sendeño. How are you? Hope you enjoy it, Francisco. The problem is the heat from the solar panels, which can burn the roof. You know, Francisco, in this same article, which I think Pepe had already mentioned, it was already discussed. From this place, from this solar farm, as they call it in Chile, they realize that it is indeed having positive effects on the environment. Because since it blocks the sun and the wind, or rather the wind, not the sun, let's say there's not as much erosion and you can already start to see more greenery.
It used to be semi-desert.
Yes, it used to be semi-desert.
So right now it's a little greener. Well, there are probably pros and cons, right? Yes, there are always pros and cons in all those things.
The sheep are the ones in charge of maintenance there. It's just that the sheep...
They're the little sheep, so they can go grazing?
Yes, so it won't start a fire or anything major.
Right? And did Spain have a national blackout for trying to use only solar energy? Says Laura Pescador. It was for another reason, but they did have an energy problem, because of an issue that I think never... They wanted to specify exactly what happened, but there was even talk of sabotage. They talked about a problem that came from Africa, right? A problem that also came and affected Spain and even affected France. Do you remember? That case was interesting, but they didn't want to give too many details, right? Yes.
Right now, it's being reported that Delcy Rodriguez's government detained the Telemundo team in Caracas for 20 minutes and forced them to delete the material they had. Yeah, no, they've changed their face.
Not changed? Yeah, no, it hasn't changed. No matter how much they want to sell the image, and now the curious thing is that even Trump wants to sell the image. That they're already different, and I don't know what, well, that they're very smart, he says. Alright? Yeah, and what about his little frill? Let Martin explain all those gentlemen, because Una KH...
Tabriz is the city in the northwest where strong protests are happening right now. To go to the other one, but it's not the border. No, it's not the border.
Alright, that's the bet. How is this going up on Polymarket? Well, obviously it's interesting. If you had to make the bet, do you think it's gonna fall? I mean, do you think that possibility exists if you had to bet? Does Ali Khamenei fall? And if so, before January 31st? Let's see if we do a poll there. Let's see if the community here participates. Hi, how have you been? Great, from Magical Luna, greetings. How are you? Thanks a lot, by the way, over there. We have been paying attention to what is happening. Not only in this area of Iran, but we've also been trying to observe what's happening with the Houthis, what's happening with these pro-Iranian groups. because, well, they are also among those affected. In the end, they had a protector. The protector, in any case, was the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. And now, well, possibly the show is going to fall apart for them. It's going to fall apart. Their main source of protection and financial military support, etc. Greetings, says Jairus. If it falls, Jairus does the math there and says if it falls, well, this. I say, today we'll edit the survey. I think, well, a good part of us are in this idea that yes, it's going to fall before January 31, right? I mean, because if it doesn't fall before the 31st, it might not fall at all. I mean, it might not fall at all. I mean, soon, no. I mean, because these are the kinds of things that either happen or make the regime stronger, right? That would also be a danger, but I don't think it will happen now. I don't think the regime is going to get stronger because it already looks too weak, says Pepe. He thanks you for keeping us informed all day and says today was your day. I mean, hey, if you watched the show with Jairus so you could see this one, says Astrid Uma Thurman. He keeps watching, keeps looking at me. Suggestively, he says, greetings, he says, before falling into the ayate. He says before falling into the ayate, he could say goodbye by attacking with everything. He might do something crazy, right? That too, but anyway, we have to be alert to those things. I imagine that Israel is also on high alert right now, watching for any strange movements, anything that could happen, says Salvatore. Greetings to Bogota, very good.
Marvin says he doubts it will fall. Last time it didn't fall, this time the rebellion, but it doesn't stay. Well, Marvin, last time here comes Chile.
I mean, well, let's say that even though it looks different, this rebellion, so to speak, this movement, well, you never know. The point is good. Your opinion, I get the feeling that it's, well, a very strong movement, right? But it could be, well, different, right? I'm seeing on X that a Partido Acción Nacional congresswoman supports the United States attacking inside Mexico. Well, that's how things are. With that way of legislating, we're not going to get far. Hey, between this congresswoman, between the Morena congresswoman, who tried to enter the United States with 800,000 pesos, not because of that.
I mean,
some want them to invade, while others hope to enter the United States with 800,000 pesos. When supposedly, you know, it's all about austerity and not stealing and all that, and getting involved. I mean, where do they get 800,000 pesos in cash from? Why enter the United States, a country with restrictions on what you can bring in? If not, you have to report and justify it. So there are a lot of congressmen who are something else. That's why we need to vote, right? This one says salud.
Today, a video that went viral yesterday shows Adriana Marin from Morena, who isn't present, stating that drug traffickers are among the world's largest employers. And today they all came out. I mean, don't help me, buddy. All the people from Morena came out. Claudio Seymour also came out to say no, that they didn't agree with her. Well, no, the biggest employer in Mexico is going to be...
Like the biggest employer in Mexico? What code? What could she be thinking, or how? How does the information reach this person? Either this person is very poorly informed or what? What she's saying is extremely harsh because obviously I don't think this is the biggest employer at all. First of all, saying let it continue because it employs many isn't valid. It's not really a job. In any case, I mean, they're committing a crime, right? It's like saying, oh, well, let them keep stealing from people because there are a lot of people, a lot of thieves, and, well, hey, that's a job, isn't it? I mean, no, you can't think like that. Greetings. How did it bug out? Yeah, I know, we froze. Gerardo Panterita, we bugged out, we glitched, he says. The one before the 31st, I think it's still low, since it's getting higher. The one before June. Yeah, no, of course, the one before June, for sure, I'll check it right now. The one before June should be even higher. Because, well, the more time passes, the more chances there are that it will drop. Yes, of course, of course, of course. Greetings, Ada Iso, how have you been? He says alive, mentioning C-17 flights and several aircraft systems crossing the Atlantic, similar to the attack on Iran at Canyon. Because those planes, the C-17S, well, they were also seen like that. They were seen in that movement since they're the ones that carry the fuel. You remember the bombers and all that. And now, Nietzsche says that, well, that they had to operate against Iran. Do you think his perspective has changed? given what's happening, you say no, better not operate right now. He said that right now, no, when he went to the visit to the White House.
That's why he shouldn't come and cause trouble.
Yes, no, not right now, but let's see how things are there. Iran, regarding flights and all that, yes, there was talk about a lot of cancellations, all kinds of things, but I imagine there are still flights up there over Iran. Yes, look, there it is. I mean, you can see some movement. Let's say no. What else can you do?
Greetings too. I placed my bet on Polymarket that the Ayatollah will fall by June, okay? And now they're up by 25. It was a small bet because I wanted to see how it works. Very good idea, Adasso. Very good.
Good idea. And how does it work? I haven't tried it.
If you click there for the amount you want, you get cents, right? I think you can enter more, and they offer about 3 or 4 options.
Okay. So you just put in the card and then you enter the amount?
Says Draper. A study once reported that 6 million people in Mexico work in search engine optimization or related fields. 6 million.
Imagine that. Well, we'd have to look at the study, but that's an incredible number, huh? That's an incredible number. Yeah, maybe if you look at it indirectly at what it can generate, I believe it. Directly, I find 6 million hard to believe, but indirectly, yes. Possibly, since if you count all the businesses involved in laundering, people often don't realize they might work there without knowing it's a money laundering business. And if not, well, it's strange. There aren't many customers or whatever.
They keep paying.
Yes. Well, yes, exactly.
No shady businesses, right? Then how have they lasted so long without customers? No names, of course.
But suddenly you say, this business specifically is in every shopping mall across the whole country.
And it was always like that?
And it's always empty.
And everyone is lucky. And they have...
As long as I remember, shopping centers, not malls, were always around and started appearing like that. I mean, everything needed to have those things, right? I won't say what the businesses are, but many of you can probably guess which ones are interesting. And then also other businesses, right? Food businesses, for example, where it's known and there are all the reports that it belonged to so-and-so, like one of the really, really big players, right? And they're still operating there. And all the supermarkets sell that kind of, in this case, for example, meat, right? There's always a brand there, meat that has always been reported there. That, yes.
That's related.
That's related to a major field.
Well, it's related to the airplane issue about how they took this one.
All that topic. And you say, that's crazy. I think it was still on sale. And I said, damn.
I won't buy it.
Because I'm not going to buy it for this.
Because it's related to the guy.
Hey, yeah, but do you say so? I mean, how is it possible that there are businesses that everyone knows about all that and they're still out there operating, right? I mean, how? I mean, at the end of the day, this kind of thing goes on. He says, greetings. From indirect to masters laundering to conservative. There could be more, says Gires. There it is, he says. I live in Cuba, he says. I just joined the chat. Can someone update me on what's happening? Greetings from Cuba. I also saw several people who have given interviews, even drunk, he says. On what topic? What topic? Well?
Are you talking about politicians?
I see.
Like Gautam or like Sergio Mayer. Greetings, Draper.
How have you been? Very well.
He says, that's basically like buying a stock at a price. The price is the probability. The cheaper you buy it, obviously the more you win. It can be card or crypto. I used Bitcoin and bought it at 32 cents per share.
Great. Now it's clear to me how it worked. So, okay, then you say my share is for this to happen, right? My share is for this other thing to happen, right? And the one that wins, well, that's the one that wins. How interesting, right? There are a number of media outlets that have been studying this, the topic of polymathy, where they're seeing some very curious patterns. You know, like the other day when I was telling you about when one of these starts, I don't know what you call them, bets, not bets. Yeah, like when they say the White House press conference is going to end at 4:15, right? Or before 4. Suddenly, a gambler walks in, bets a large bill, and claims it won't happen at 4:25, only for it to occur exactly at 4:25. He's at the conference when they announce it's over and end it. So you say, do you think there aren't manipulations happening? No. Yeah. I'm not sure if it can be investigated. I mean, where is Polymarket even operating to begin with? But I suppose it can be done, right? I mean, it says they're businesses. And that's it. That's why you can deposit in a bank. Blanca says regarding the money laundering and all that. Greetings, Blanca. Yes.
Blanca Barcelo, Blanca, that's what she says. Yes, greetings to Panterita, also to Benedicto Villegas. He's here too. Yo-Yo says greetings and says tour. Gambling, addiction, and politics. Whoever came up with that is a genius, a real genius.
Of course. Yes.
Besides, you can bet on anything, not just politics. You go in and say, how is Mount Etna going to erupt today? And there's a bet for that. I mean, there are just too many topics.
Yeah, any topic you can think of. I mean, as long as there are topics, there will be bets. Trends are a good way to see what's popular, right? Do you want to know which topics are trending? Well, you go there because that's where you'll really see if there's interest or not. Beyond whether what's happening is trendy, this one says what else? It says better than the style. I think it's better than betting on soccer, or at least I understand it more, because with soccer I'm lost. At least with this, I have some idea. I've already had several that I wrote down that I would have won. But well, there it is, right? He says. Pepe was asking you, what do you think about linking cell phones with your club? Mandatory? More and more? Well, yeah, right.
Yes, they've already started since they've always asked for your Registro Federal de Contribuyentes.
No, it depends, because if you buy a cell phone at OXXO, no, if you buy a cell phone and you have a cell phone, one of these, what's it called? A paid service, let's say, where you pay every month. Well, there you do have to give all your information because you get billed and everything goes under your name. I mean, there's no other way. But suddenly, if you say, yeah, I want to have a cell phone that's private, that nobody knows about, not the government, etc., that doesn't have that. Well, before, in theory, it was possible, even though supposedly it hasn't been allowed for years. Supposedly that's been controlled for years, right? But I haven't had to buy one. We've never bought a burner phone. Or now, those who want to hide, I mean, let's say people from organized crime or criminals, I mean, those who want to hide, they always find a way to have a cell phone or to have something so they don't, I don't know. And I feel that this kind of control, so to speak, is more for regular people and not so much for the criminals. No, exactly. No, the curvametric, I don't know. I mean, it would be the topic, not the... And more than that, the surveillance. The issue is that this information is easily hackable because it's already been shown how government information gets hacked all the time.
From the banks to the CEP to the CEP to the INSS to, well, whatever, to the IST, well, everyone has been...
Here we have the joke, Father Novak.
Let's see, I can't quite read it. I can see it here.
Do it for me.
Oh, okay. It says, a guy walks into a brothel and asks the madam, how much does it cost to sleep with a woman? Well, it depends on the time. Okay, let's say it's raining. Ha ha ha.
Let's say it's sunny. Hey, Papa Novak, how are you? Very good. This is now mandatory for everyone. There he is. Yes, Beto Barba. Since we're talking about manipulations, did you know that the Venezuelan stock market went up 32 the days before the United States operation? Yes, I've been checking that. I couldn't find where it is. What's this called? Well, the indicator, not based on what I saw, no, well, there were other posts that talked about up to 2,000 and I don't know what else. I mean, extremely high percentages, I don't doubt it. I mean, if that's how it was, I haven't been able to check it thoroughly, but I don't doubt that it's true. I mean, if you see that there's a movement where the possibility opens up, there will be more people who want to invest.
If she says Blanca, but the curve wasn't going to disappear, so not Blanca, now it'll be the biometric curve. I mean, no, the number doesn't necessarily disappear. It just gets more information added to it. I mean, it'll be biometric. Yes, she says Sadushima.
Here it is, sorry.
The back.
The Caracas Stock Exchange, this is it. Here it is. Let's see if we can see it. It's impressive. I mean, it went up. It was worth 19. I'm not sure, but I think it's in dollars. Let me try to put it on the screen. Hold on. But it's had a huge surge. And yeah, in the end, there's expectation, right? That at the end of the day, That's what's causing this huge surge. Look, you can see it. It's the rise. It went from being worth 19, I suppose, let's say dollars, to 70.30. I mean, it's a surge. Yeah, huge, really huge. I mean, we're talking about an increase of more than 100%. So it's a huge rise. That's right. Let's look at it over the whole week, right? There it is at this point, which would be, it was around the 3rd or 4th of January when the big spike happened, but I'm not sure of the exact day. A day or two later, it went up impressively, like a wall, I think. I mean, it makes sense, right? And that there still hasn't been a correction. That catches my attention. I mean, because it always goes up and it keeps going up. There's always someone who wants to sell for a profit, but if they're not selling, they believe it'll keep rising. Okay, what else?
What else is mentioned about this week? The hackers accessed sensitive National Guard members' personal information, which is extremely dangerous. Of course, greetings to El Güero. Jose, your jokes always make me laugh, but they're actually mine from Dad, he says. Pepe keeps me awake with the info. Greetings, El Güero Jose.
He says.
Cesar Bautista, I'm about to visit Monterrey, Nuevo León. You have no idea. You won't believe it. Do you believe it?
Greetings, greetings. Best of luck.
If you like the city, you'll like it.
I hope you like it.
Says Zidane, his cousin has surgery. Within the United States, regulations were relaxed when Trump came in, and his son Donald Jr. is one of the company's advisors. Oh no.
Yes.
Because I remember when the elections happened, there was some controversy. Because, well, one of the bets was whether Trump was going to win or not. But since it wasn't inside the United States, that bet could be made or couldn't be made. Everyone outside the United States could vote, well, could bet, but I imagine that now, well, they can in the United States too.
I imagine this is Prime Minister, but there's this one too, right? Because, well, like it says Jesus Christ will return before 2027. And then, well, there's the percentage. There's a 3% chance. I imagine those bets can't happen. It's something you can't really prove.
So you have to set a date?
Yes, before 2027.
This year, yes.
That's why, but I mean, how do you prove it?
Well, it's already 2027 and it didn't happen, so yeah.
But I mean, what if someone says, oh, I'm Jesus, I've arrived, or something like that?
Does he need to do something, open the earth and sky and raise the dead? I mean, like, he has to put on a really big display for us to believe him, right?
And if he does?
Well, then you already won. So what's the point of the money at that moment? Well, nothing. That's the reality, he says. Huh? Right? Now they want your biometric data for the curve. Will they steal all your data? Yeah, it does make me feel uneasy, because it's everyone's data. I mean, even minors' data too, right? There have already been several hacks with stolen names and addresses. Who are the parents of the children? I think in Sonora and Sinaloa, I mean, besides those states, right? And you say, wow, it's so dangerous that they know where they live, how to call their phones. I mean, it's super sensitive information. Greetings to Aurelio Garcia. For lotteries, I believe the national lottery is the most legitimate, since computer-based ones aren't trustworthy.
Greetings from Aurelio.
The enemies have caused me a lot. Yes.
Yes, stop. You can tell us there, he says.
Marvin, leave it like that. He never wants to lose. Ha ha ha.
Who, you, because of Jesus?
Alejandro says that's already a lot of information, and Mexico's corruption isn't reassuring. There's nothing with Icon. There are no salts. There are salts. It doesn't give any confidence to give out information like that for them to have everything, says Icon Render. SIM cloning is going to cause injustices, he says.
Yes, exactly. It can also cause problems like...
Well, the latest SAT theft, I mean, they stole data from the bank. Your here, the certificate, your name, I mean, they took everything, so how can you trust them?
Yeah, I don't know if it's there. Yeah, it's fine. It's tough because besides, they can get you into big trouble. Suddenly it turns out that, look, you have all that stuff here.
All these invoices.
Wow, that beautiful face, right?
What is cabrito? Asked Cesar Bautista. Is it a goat, a baby?
It's a goat?
Yes, literally a baby.
It's a dish that's eaten a lot here. Well, this one is supposedly very typical from here. I mean, you can see, because honestly, it's rare really rare. Tourists are the ones who eat it.
Yes, the tourists here.
In Monterrey, no, almost nobody eats it. I mean,
Here, when people gather, they eat a lot of meat.
yeah.
That's right. This one says yes, growth and faith. Now, people bet on anything. Commodoro arrives late. Greetings, greetings. In dictatorships, they know everything about you. Yes, yes. This one says Gerardo Hernandez. Is it said that the skies will open, and does that mean it will be an interdimensional bridge for the arrival of the master? Amen, yes. Something extreme would have to happen, right? Like those people who suddenly claim to be Jesus. They take 20 girls and go to the woods, right? And then a bunch of other guys kind of brainwashed go along with it. But they really don't do absolutely anything, says Werder, and says, did you see the Azteca report chase Fluby? They caught Officer Mordelon at the corner, and other officers were robbing another citizen in Naucalpan, state of Mexico. Some of the most corrupt police. And is there a girl reporting something like that on the street? Yes, those reporters who go around investigating on their motorcycles, and suddenly she sees them stop a car with United States plates, which was a Mexican man on his way back to Chicago. Yeah, and this one? And she comes closer, and there's the police officer, and he starts asking the man in the truck questions, and he says, hey, are they trying to take my truck away from me? I don't have a permit, but I did my research and got this permit and several others, so why are they taking my truck away? And absent-mindedly, the police officer leaves, and the girl notices, or the cameraman jokes with her and says, hey, officer? And they start running. The police officer and the reporter are running. And at one point, the cameraman is running too, because at some point, the girl just couldn't keep up anymore. She fell behind as the cameraman ran ahead. And when they run and turn the corner, like 5 police officers show up and everyone takes off. Everyone runs away. I mean, everyone leaves. For those who don't know what it means, everyone leaves. So were they trying to pull a prank on the man? To the Mexican who was going to Chicago, they probably said, oh, he's going to Chicago. He has dollars. Let's get a good bribe from him. Let him give us a good bribe. If not, terrible, terrible. Well, greetings to Benedict. How are you? He says, yes, meets. Oh, this is the good stuff, says Benedict, says Maria Elena. And very soon a travel proposal is in sight. Monterrey. Hey, that curviometric process is really scary. Yes, well, he says. And how could it happen? How can this new plan be delayed? With marches, protests? We need to think, she says. Greetings, I remember. It will happen because I recall from long ago, like when Felipe Calderon was in office, there was a proposal to do something like this for minors, and it wasn't done.
It wasn't done because people started to protest, started to complain, well, yes.
It says that there, it says, the bet in context, how is the bet resolved? I'll check it because there are some very strange situations. Yes.
Of course, those kinds of things, well, there has to be like a clause there.
Sarushima mentions a clause. In a Chilean mall, I saw a stand offering retina scans. Oh yes, I know which one that is. In exchange, they gave you credit to use in an app that you bought with cryptocurrency. What's it called, Bitso? Is it Bitso or not? No, it's the other one.
No.
It wasn't from OpenAI either. It was OpenAI. Yes, it's OpenAI. They're the ones, well, in fact, they gave you a certain amount of money. I remember at one point, yes. They did it in Europe, and the European Union government told them they had to delete all the data. They basically gave the money away since they couldn't keep any data. Not this one. It's tough. Will be inherited. And yes, they stole from him. In the end, the police took a bribe from him and he ran off with the loot. He did give them money for that.
That's messed up.
I understood it like he didn't manage to give them the money. Well, it's better if you saw it. Is this the whole thing? I only saw the part where he's asking and running. That's it. They had left. And at the end, he says the corruption was really bad. But I didn't see that he actually gave the bribe, says Tapatia. How nice. What an honest country. Well, they don't fit, right? Greetings. For bribe, you say parable, the parable, says Gires. Here, it's already law. The only hope with the curviometric is that they don't have the technical capacity and end up repealing the law. Hopefully, because it's kind of a big deal. It's not just anything. It's not just a photo, she says. Let's see. The government's inefficiency is good. Sometimes inefficiency, hoping that it helps us, says the person here. And in Colombia, there was a company that scanned retinas and gave out crypto, and they shut it down. I mean, they ended up shutting it down. Okay.
Okay.
The The Axis says Christ isn't coming soon. I spoke to him recently and he says it'll still be a while. You know who? Have you talked to him too? Number 9 from Ghana also told him he wasn't coming anymore. Greetings from Valeria. Hi guys, how are you? My boyfriend is from Buenos Aires. Argentina scanned his eye when that system was there in Argentina too, and in exchange they gave him credit. Okay.
And okay, yes.
Yes, there were huge lines. We saw the images of the people, those who wanted the money, right? And well, he says, do you want for 4? But it's true, the latest episodes of South Park are really good.
It was eliminated. Let's see, come on.
Yeah, that's what they say. But no, I mean, I haven't seen any official source.
There hasn't been any official data. I don't think there will be, but we should check the intelligence reports. We'll check right now and see if anyone from intelligence is saying something like that. Not this, but yeah, it's tough. As for the rumors, right now it's intense. There's a lot. And he says, okay, well, right now what we're experiencing is something else. Basically, it's the end of another regio, even though the one from Venezuela isn't over yet. But well, at least it does seem like changes could happen, right? And that too, well, time will tell. We'll see. But let's go.
No, let's go.
Tomorrow is Saturday. Tomorrow we'll stay longer. We'll hang out longer, right? To talk about some movies, series, and some things we still have pending, okay? What else?
Remember that we're on WhatsApp and Telegram, and that's where we send you the notifications. I'm thinking about getting my numbers back again. What do you end up with? The calls, if you have the United States and Canada plan, are free.
Yes, exactly. Good point.
There you go. Greetings from Tapatia.
Awesome.
See you later with a Chicago or Los Angeles number.
Don't forget, they say a bullet hit Trump's ear, they say. Regards, Gilberto. When are we gonna have the show about Dark? Hey, yeah, that's true. We still have that pending. We need to do it. I don't know who else here in the community has seen Dark. But it would be great to do a special show about...
Hello to GMW.
Greetings. We have to do it on another channel on BB News and see who wants to join. Let's do it. Well, we can do this one tomorrow. I mean, I'd be happy to. We can handle it tomorrow if you want and have the chance. And tomorrow we'll do it before this live. What do you think? Wouldn't it be great? He says. There's a theory that says the mark of the beast, according to religion, would be biometrics. Yeah, right. I've always understood that. I've always understood that for a long time. Yeah, the whole biometrics thing. I don't know. I don't know how things connect, honestly.
I don't understand the connection.
Yeah, but always. I mean, this is something that's been around for a long time. Years. Really great. Well, that was it. See you. Take care. Tomorrow we'll continue discussing all the international matters. See you later.
See you later.
We interrupt your regular programming. Thank you for tuning into The Truth.
This is PP Live.
The truth is intense, pure. The unusual is real, pure. We analyze it here, global perspective. Don't miss out. Connect to PP Channel Live, controlling the signal. Pepe and Astrid telling it like it is. Raw journalism. Respect is given here. Turn on the alert. Don't lose track until next time. Yes, sir. We're taking attendance. Subscribe.